Hey, world history students, it's Mr. Hofer following up with you after the first 2 days of online instruction. So now you've had a chance to check out how Google Classroom is going to be situated, and I hope, well, if you're looking at this video, you've also found our world history lesson plans and homepage. If you were surprised to find out that Mr. Lura is co-teaching this, I think that is also going to be a great benefit to you and to us, that you can work with any world history students or with either world history teacher and be on the same page. What I'm producing this video for is just a follow-up over a few issues related to both the applications we're using, like Edpuzzle, as well as the curriculum that we're teaching, with some of the questions or issues that you might have had with the first 2 days of class. So let's begin looking at the software. If you haven't had a chance to do the Edpuzzles yet, the first time you try to log into Edpuzzle, it's going to ask you for a code. You do not need a code. The reason you're getting this is because you have not logged into Edpuzzle before, or it's been a long time and your account has been logged off. Simply log in using your school email and password, and you're good to go. It syncs up, and I don't think you'll be asked for a code after that. You'll see your assignments posted in the usual places, both on Edpuzzle and in Google Classroom. You click the link, and from there on out, it should be pretty seamless. Okay. There were some people that were asking about, oh, do I need a code? No, you don't need a code. The other thing is with Padlet. Okay. Padlet, let me pull that down here, is the application we're using to post our political cartoons about the Industrial Revolution. And some of you have written really good descriptions and not provided a picture. Others of you have provided really good pictures, but no description. Some of you have made your own pictures. Some of you have found pictures online. Just to set the record straight, these are the two approaches we're taking to accept for full credit. Originally, the intention was you would illustrate your own picture. And if you did that, there's no description necessary. You illustrated your own picture and you posted it. As long as it's 10th grade quality, you get your credit. Others of you went and found a picture online, and a lot of the pictures online are really terrific. I mean, those are historical documents, they're primary sources, and they give us a good sense of what's going on with the Industrial Revolution. But since you're not following the regular instructions, I want you to write a summary with those as well. Why? Because if you're just going and copying and pasting a picture, there's no notion for us of whether you understand what its value is. It could have just been the first picture that came up on Google Images. Somebody that illustrated had to think about the details and process it out. So another way to get 100% is to find a picture online, but then to write up a summary of how it reflects one of those three issues in the Industrial Revolution: air pollution, the conditions between the economic differences between the rich and the poor, dangerous factory conditions, overcrowded conditions in tenements, which are the homes, slums in major cities. So if you went and found a picture, you wrote a description, you're moving in the direction of full credit. Okay? So that's a Padlet assignment. I would ask, please, for Mr. Lura and my sanity, once you've finished an assignment, please mark done on the Google Classroom assignment page. Why? Because that means we have a sense that you know what's going on, you've completed the task, and then we can go and hunt down your post to give you a grade. Now, if you're just hitting done and you're not completing it, we'll figure that out pretty quickly, and we'll plug in the correct grade, which would be a 0. So be honest and be consistent in getting those assignment marks as complete. Okay. Whew. Moving to the number 2 issue, which is content. I want to talk a little bit about the one question that people were struggling with in the first Edpuzzle. Okay. Now, without giving you the exact Edpuzzle number, because I can't think of it off the top of my head, it deals with two different economic systems, socialism and capitalism. Okay? So pay close attention to this. Both of these economic systems developed during the Industrial Revolution. Capitalism is the private ownership of property. In America, we have historically favored capitalism. What that means is private ownership of property. I can own my tools. I can own my factory. I can own my apple tree. I can own a cow. If I own a cow and she has calves, I own the calves. If I want to milk the cow, I own the milk. I can sell the milk. I can make cheese out of it. I own that. And if I sell those goods to someone else, now they own it, but they pay me money. That's capitalism. Okay. And what we're seeing in Europe during this time of industrial revolution is greater access to property, greater ownership of property. The system of capitalism is really developing. Now, with that, there are some problems because I suppose, as Bernie Sanders would say, 1% of the country owns 99% of the property. Okay, so you have a lot of poor people with nothing. And how do you make something out of nothing? You might say, well, work really, really hard. But since there were no rules or restrictions on those that own property, a factory owner could force somebody to work for uh, basically slave wages. What that means is so poor that they're barely able to feed themselves, but yet they're obligated to keep working to avoid starvation. There are no restrictions or protections on working conditions, as you've read about with the Industrial Revolution. And so, really, people that didn't own property, which would have been mostly everybody, were really beholden to the property owners and worked for very meager wages. Out of those conditions developed socialism. All right, this idea that there needs to be some kind of government intervention and either restriction or control or redistribution of wealth. So, for example, in socialist governments, people are allowed to own property, but the government comes in and it takes part of that property or manages part of that property for the benefit of this larger social group, hence socialism. So, what that might look like is okay, you own a factory, but there are minimum wages. You own a big farm, but there are property taxes that help pay for public schools, libraries, roads, those social programs, post offices. They're not really all that controversial, even in the world today. At the time, in the Industrial Revolution, they were. This idea that you could take something that belonged to somebody else for the benefit of everyone, for the group, that was controversial. And so we start to see the principles of socialism develop in Russia. And after that, we have other areas, or other types of economic systems like communism developing as well. So this week, we are going to be once again looking at how nationalism is developing around Europe and throughout the world, really. And to do that, our simulation is going to be rooted in two games, starting with the game Nation States. Okay. For those of you that are in my class, you're familiar with Nation States. We were able to create a Nation States account and our own personal country before we left. For those of you that are in Mr. Lura's classroom, the instructions hopefully are self-explanatory. I've included the step-by-step video that you'll be working on tomorrow, Tuesday, as well as getting some information over to us so we can start to coordinate alliances. So if you have any questions about the Nation States game or the simulation we're going to be doing to represent nationalism, be sure you email me or Mr. Lura or stop into one of our open office hours sessions to discuss those things. There's a series of reflections that will go along with this on Thursday and Friday using Flipgrid. If you've never used Flipgrid before, be sure that you log in, again, using your Google account information, your email, and your password from school, and it should be no problem for you to manage. But that's about it for today's Monday wrap up. We sure miss you guys. The things that we need to do as a community, I think, are being done, but you've always been the most rewarding part about teaching. So we'll talk to you soon, hopefully. Even if you don't have any real questions, stop in and see us in our open office sessions, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.